I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, doing no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm back. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up. Go live it up, cash in the bag, stadium packed.
Welcome to Knowledge TV. Today, we're doing a podcast on the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. In each episode, we break down a law, share real-life examples, and give practical tips to help you master the art of influence.
I'm Jass, here with Robert, and we're excited to explore these powerful strategies for mastering influence and understanding human behavior. So get ready to dive into the 48 Laws of Power, right here on Knowledge TV. Let's get started.
All right, so today we're diving into Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power.
Oh, yeah.
I think most people have heard of this book.
Yeah, definitely a popular one for sure.
It's definitely can be a little bit controversial, but it's got some really interesting observations about how power dynamics work.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking at it through the lens of a whole bunch of YouTube videos that break down the laws.
Okay, awesome.
And specifically, I want to focus on two that I think will make all of us think a little bit differently about how we approach things.
Cool.
So the first law is never outshine the master.
Interesting.
And this one is interesting because on the surface, it seems completely counterintuitive. Like, we're always taught to be the best we can be, shoot for the stars.
Right.
But this is saying, no, don't do that.
Well, it's all about kind of getting into the psychology of power.
Okay.
And this law really, I think, tackles the idea that many people in a position of power are insecure. And if you are consistently outshining your boss, you're kind of making them feel threatened.
Interesting.
Like, oh, maybe this person's got it for my job.
I see.
So it's not so much about your ability,
right,
as it is about their perception of your ability,
right,
and how it makes them feel.
So it's not just about not making mistakes, but it's about making your superior feel secure.
Exactly.
And maybe even a little smarter than they are.
Right. Yeah. And Greene gives a really interesting example with Nicolas Fouquet, who was King Louis XIV's finance minister.
Okay, I've heard of this story.
Yeah. So Fouquet threw this incredibly lavish party.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking the most brilliant minds from all over Europe were there. Gardens that could rival Versailles, like the whole 9 yards.
Okay. Parties are great.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling this didn't go so well.
It didn't quite go as planned.
Okay.
And Fouquet's intentions were probably good. He wanted to impress the king.
Yeah.
But he really completely missed the mark when it came to understanding the king's personality. Louis XIV, the Sun King, he was notoriously vain and needed to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
So by throwing this incredibly over-the-top party, Fouquet essentially stole the spotlight.
He outshone the master?
Exactly.
Wow. And so what happened?
Well,
did he get a promotion?
No.
Okay.
He ended up in prison.
That's rough.
Yeah. It was a pretty costly mistake, literally.
Yeah. But
it really shows just how crucial it is to kind of be subtle and understand the psychology of the person that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And Greene suggests, instead of trying to outshine your master, you focus more on collaborative achievements.
Okay.
Highlight how your work contributes to their vision.
I see.
So it's about becoming indispensable, not irreplaceable.
Okay, so how would we apply this outside of, 17th century French courts?
Yeah.
If I'm doing really well at my job, how do I make sure my boss is feeling good about it too?
Well, it's all about framing things the right way.
Oh.
Instead of presenting an idea as completely your own, you can say something like, oh, I was really inspired by your comment about X. And I think we could take that even further by doing Y.
Interesting.
You're acknowledging their input while still showing initiative.
Yeah.
Right?
That's clever.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for law number 2?
Hit me with it.
Okay, this one's a little intense.
Okay.
Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies.
Whoa.
I know, right?
That's a big one.
First reaction, that sounds harsh.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's something more to it.
There's definitely a deeper meaning there.
Okay.
Greene isn't saying don't have friends or be paranoid.
Right.
But it's more about understanding human nature, especially when power dynamics come into play.
Okay.
Because, with friends, especially in professional settings, things can get a little messy.
Right.
envy can come up or a sense of entitlement.
So maybe don't promote your friend who's always asking for favors.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that you should never help your friends, but you have to understand that in a professional context, those lines can get a little blurred.
Yeah.
And history is full of cautionary tales about this.
Okay, like what?
Well, look at Michael III of the Byzantine Empire.
Okay.
He had this friend Basilius, who he basically took from nothing, showered him with gifts, made him his right-hand man.
And I'm sensing this doesn't have a happy ending.
No, it does not.
Okay.
Basilius ended up murdering Michael to take the throne for himself.
Oh, wow. Talk about a backstabbing friend.
Yeah, so, gratitude mixed with ambition and power can be a very dangerous combination.
So maybe don't make your best friend your second in command.
Probably a good rule of thumb.
Okay, but what about the second part of this law?
Yeah.
The use your enemies part.
Right.
That one's even more confusing.
Well, this is where Greene's thinking gets really interesting.
Okay.
He argues that former enemies, if you choose them carefully and manage them carefully, can actually become very valuable assets.
Okay.
Because they're often more motivated to prove themselves.
Interesting.
They're less likely to take your kindness for granted.
Okay.
And they might even be more loyal because they feel like they have something to prove.
So are we talking like full on keep your friends close and your enemies closer kind of thing?
Not quite that dramatic.
Okay.
But it's about recognizing that power dynamics can shift.
Yeah.
And sometimes those shifts can work in your favor.
So are there any like historical examples of this actually working?
Oh yeah. Look at the Song Dynasty emperors.
Okay.
They actually integrated former enemies into their government.
Wow.
And created a surprisingly stable power base.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that Abraham Lincoln quote.
Oh yeah.
Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?
Exactly.
Never thought about it in a power dynamics context, but it totally makes sense.
Right, because by surprising a former enemy with generosity, you give them a chance to prove themselves.
Yeah.
You turn a threat into a potential ally.
Interesting.
But of course, this requires good judgment and really understanding the person that you're dealing with.
Yeah. This is a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to rethink some of my relationships.
Yeah.
And how power plays into them.
It definitely makes you see things in a new light.
It does. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Those first two laws really make you think, huh?
They're definitely thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what else did these videos say?
All right. Well, let's see. Law 3 is conceal your intentions.
Ooh, mysterious.
Right. And this one basically argues that the less people know about your true motives, the more powerful you become.
So it's about strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
Adaptability. Not showing all your cards.
I think of it like a poker game.
Okay.
You don't want to reveal your hand too early.
Right.
In negotiations, in competitive situations. Giving away your strategy is just giving your rivals an advantage.
That makes a lot of sense in business.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you don't want your competition to know what you're up to. But this could also apply to personal relationships, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a little bit of mystery keeps things interesting.
Yeah, keeps people guessing.
Right, and maybe stops people taking you for granted.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got never outshine the master.
Right.
Don't trust your friends. Use your enemies. And conceal your intentions.
Yeah.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Well, Greene's definitely highlighting the importance of calculated self-preservation.
Okay.
Understanding the unspoken rules of the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's necessarily advocating for being ruthless.
Right.
It's more about being strategic and aware.
Yes, like he's giving us a crash course in real politics.
Exactly.
That sort of like pragmatic, maybe even cynical view of how power works in the world.
Yeah, and that leads us perfectly into Law 4. Always say less than necessary.
Okay, so this one's about silence.
Exactly.
Choosing your words carefully, letting others fill in the blanks.
It's about the power of what you don't say.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this. Yeah.
Because it seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Why is saying less so powerful?
Oh, because it creates an air of authority and mystery.
Okay.
When you're concise, people pay more attention.
That's true.
And you avoid the risk of saying something foolish or revealing more than you intended.
So are we talking like that strong silent type vibe?
It's partly that.
Okay.
But it's also about mastering nonverbal communication.
Oh.
Your body language, your tone of voice.
Yeah.
Even your silences can convey a lot.
This is making me think of all the times I've over-explained things. Or just talk myself in circles.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I need to channel my inner sphinx
It's definitely a skill that takes practice.
Yeah.
But learning to be more deliberate with your words can be incredibly empowering.
Okay.
It gives you more control over how others perceive you.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps your message have a stronger impact.
We've gone through like 4 pretty intense laws here.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth, kind of taking a step back.
And thinking about the ethical side of all of this, because some of these laws do sound pretty ruthless, even manipulative.
Well, and Greene himself acknowledges that in his work.
Okay.
He's very clear that these laws are not meant to be used to exploit people.
Right.
Or become a tyrant.
Right.
It's more about understanding how power dynamics work in the real world.
Okay.
Both the good and the bad.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
This knowledge could be used for good or evil.
Right.
It all depends on the person wielding it.
It all comes back to intention.
Right.
These laws are tools.
Yeah.
And any tool can be used constructively or destructively.
Right. So it's on us to be mindful
Exactly.
about the potential consequences.
Yes.
And use this knowledge responsibly.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Yeah.
And that's why I think these conversations are so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Exploring the nuances of power dynamics and really encouraging people to think critically about how these principles play out in real life.
Well said.
Thanks.